geometric mean is one of our things from chapter 7 that would have been really easy to forget about. So that's where we have the x in both positions, and then I cross multiply and solve this. Now the x is this side that's shared along with this a and b here. So this might be a good one to put on a note card in case you forget. I know this showed up on the chapter 7 test, and it was just really easy to forget about what we needed to do with that. So the 20 and 8 are going to go opposite one another. Oops, not that way. And I'm going to cross multiply and set these equal. And so I'm going to take the square root of 160, which will give me the value for x. Now you can leave this in decimal form or simplest radical form. Get about 12.65 for that. Now, once I know what x is, I can find w and y using Pythagorean theorem. So now I can do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. However, when I do that, I want to use the square root of 160 instead of 12.65 squared. It's just a little bit more accurate. So I'm going to put square root of 160 here. That's really big. So we're going to do the square root of 160 here, and then I'm going to do Pythagorean theorem. So I'll do square root of 160 squared plus 8 squared equals w squared. So I'm doing this one first. Now square root of 160 squared, the reason I like that is because that's just 160. So I'm going to take the square root of 224 and find out that w is going to be about 14.97. And then I would have to do the same thing for y. I'm not going to take the time to do that, but I would have to do the same thing with y with Pythagorean theorem. So the next thing we talked about was the triangle inequality, and that's in order to be a triangle, a plus b has to be greater than c. But then we get more specific. So in order to be a triangle, a plus b has to be greater than c. We want to get a little bit more in depth here. A squared plus b squared is going to equal c squared. It's a right triangle. If a squared plus b squared is greater than c squared, then it's acute. And then if it's flipped, it's going to be obtuse. So those would be great note card things to write down. First of all, is it a triangle? Then is it right, acute, or obtuse? Then we have our special right triangles, and then also we use trigonometry as well. So special right. So this would be a 45, 45, 90. This is leg, leg, leg squared to 2. This is the 30, 60, 90 where we have short, 2 times the short squared to 3. What's it?
I think I might go for you more, so I should have to go.
Okay.
Hey, phone. Hey, phone. Thank you.
Just having an A.
Yeah.
Hope it gets better. All right, trigonometry. That's where we were looking for a missing side. We're going to use SOHCAHTOA or Pythagorean theorem. Or if you're looking for an angle, that's when you use the inverse sine, cosine, or tangent. Or you can also use the fact that the angles add up to 180. So we're going to do trig for these 2 examples here. So in this case, we're going to do this one on the left. The fact that we have an angle and we have a missing side. I can't do Pythagorean theorem for this one because I only know one of the sides. And it's not a special right triangle. 52 isn't one of our special ones. So instead, we're going to do trig. So based off this 52, this is my hypotenuse. And then this is my adjacent because it's right next to that side or that angle. So adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. I'm going to do cosine of 52 equals adjacent over hypotenuse, which is x over 17. Now in order to solve for x, we're going to multiply each side by 17. Just be careful that you guys remember how to do that in your calculator. That you get that x all alone, so 17 times the cosine of 52.
10.4.
10.4.
Well, 10.46.
Now the next one might be a little confusing. You might wonder, should I use a special right triangle just because I see the square root of 2? We don't know for sure that this is like a 30, 60, 90 or 45, 45, 90, so we can't do that. We know 2 of the sides out of the 3, so if we want to find that third, instead of using trig, we're going to use Pythagorean theorem for this. I'm going to break this into another problem though as well. I'm actually going to have us find angle M as well up here, maybe. I'll talk about that. So we'll look for that in a minute. But first, let's do Pythagorean theorem. So here's my C, A and B. Now careful, when you have to square 3 square roots of 2, I'm going to tell you guys to put parentheses around it. And some of your calculators even require like a double parenthesis. So when I go to square that, this actually becomes 9 times 2, so this is 18. be a square here. We're gonna find out this is a really bad drawing, because that 40 should be a lot longer. What's that? Did you not get 18 for 3 squared is 2 squared? So again, you might have to put an extra parenthesis around that. Okay. And then I have to take the square root of each side. So I'm taking the square root of that, and I end up with 39.8, 39.7. So like I said, my drawing is really bad because like it's kind of lopsided. Now, if I wanted to find angle M, this is where those inverse sine, cosine, tangent comes into play. So if I want to find angle M, I'm going to do this over here. I can use up to you which one you want to use. Let's go. This is opposite, this is hypotenuse, so let's do sine. So sine of M equals opposite over hypotenuse, so that's at 39.77 over 40. So when I'm trying to find that angle, this is where we use the inverse sine. So we get about like an 84-degree angle for that, 83.8. Okay, you guys get that to work out? All right, so we'll move on to chapter 8. It's our polygons. Again, so softball girls who are leaving, just a heads up, the video will be online, probably 2 parts. Probably 1 part before and after our break. We'll kind of keep moving here. Feel free to watch the video if needed. If you choose not to, it's up to you. This is your review for your exam. It's up to you guys. Again, the review packet isn't due till the exam day. All right, so chapter 7 as well. We did have a chart for all of these chapters. So, yeah. I will have an answer key. I usually try to wait to release it until kind of late, but yeah, once you're ready to check it, I have one. Just a reminder, guys, there are charts for each of these, so it might be good going back and looking at the charts we made. Those would be really great note card things to put on. So softball, if you guys are ready to go, you're welcome to go ahead. They tell us we have a regular 18 gon. We want to find the measure of one interior angle and one exterior angle. There's a couple of different ways to do that. So interior angles, we would use this formula. Exterior angles, we just know it's 360. So I want to know one interior and one exterior angle. Now right away, going off this 18, I know it's going to be a really, really like almost circular looking shape. The sides are going to be, so the angles on the inside should be really, 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 really large. That means the exterior angle is going to be small. Any thoughts on what you guys want to do on this one? My mind jumps to this one because it's just an easier formula. It's not really a formula. 360 is the total. If there's 18 angles and it's regular, we're just breaking up the 360 into 18 parts. That's kind of the question you asked today. So 360 divided by 18, we end up with 20. So 20 degrees is each of the exterior angles. So we're talking about a polygon, and obviously this is not the right size polygon. The interior and exterior angle together adds to 180. So if I know the exterior equals 20, what's the interior angle going to be? So these two together should add to 180. So this is going to be 160. Now, if you didn't notice that, you could have figured out what the sum is of all of them, and then you have to divide it by 18. So there's a couple of different ways to find that out. This is a rhombus here. Hopefully you guys remember with a rhombus when you know for sure. There's a few things we know right away on our rhombus. The diagonals are perpendicular. So B is already 90 degrees. Okay. Then for A and C. Any thoughts?
One of them is 38.
One of them is 38. Which one?
Okay, I guess A.
A is, because since it's a rhombus, these are parallel lines, so alternate interior angles would be 38. And then C I should be able to find, because I know the angles add up to 180 together, the three angles, so 30 and 9, or 38 and 90, and C should add up to 180. So this is going to end up being, is that 52?
Yeah. I always think that A is to equal 90.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that's kind of what I just subtracted those two to figure it out. All right, the next one is a mid-segment. So another important formula we want to make sure we include on your list. So the formula is the base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. They tell me PM is 2x, TS is 10, and QR is 3x. So I have to take the two bases and add them together and divide by 2, and that should equal the mid-segment. So this and this get added together. Divided by 2, and that should equal 2x.
Times it by 2.
Yes, I want to get rid of that divide by 2. Instead, I want to multiply by 2 because I don't like dealing with that fraction. This 3 is not a nice number to divide by 2. And this becomes pretty easy to solve here. X ends up being 10. Okay. So baseball guys, do you want to break now, or do you just want us to keep going and get your notes done? What do you think? It's up to you.
I'll take a break.
The break.
Dinner.
I don't know.
Okay. What do you guys think?
Notes.
No. Squirrel votes no.
Oh.
All right. So chapter 5, we did have another chart for that. That's the different relationships with triangles. This was if you guys recall.
We're left with both sides.
Yeah, both sides of the note card. Yep, you're welcome to do both sides. For this one, relationships within triangles, that was like the median, mid-segment, perpendicular bisector, angle bisector. There's a whole bunch that came up with our triangles. The angles of a triangle. Some of these you're going to look back and be like, wow, that seemed like forever ago. It kind of was. They want to know the angles of these. Do these three sides form a triangle? And then if it does, list the angles from smallest to largest. How can we check if this would form a triangle?
If the two smaller sides are greater than the big side.
Yep, so 7 plus 4 is greater than 10, so it is a triangle. So this is yes. So now I'm going to draw this. And I don't really know what it looks like, but I'm going to try and draw it so it kind of makes sense. The longest side is 10, so that's AB. And then AC is short, oh, that should be a C there. AC is the shorter one. Okay. Now, based off the side length, I should know what the smallest angle is and what the biggest angle is. Which one's the smallest? B. Because it's across from the 4, angle B, or sorry, yeah, angle B is the smallest. Then next would be A, and then finally C. Okay? So they tell me ZD is 6 here. That's this whole thing across. They want ZQ. I shouldn't call it X because there's already an X there. Call it M. So in this case, these are medians. These lines intersect the sides of the triangle at the midpoint. So this is worth looking up again. So if anything, go back and at least look at those charts. When you guys see medians, that goes with that thing we call the centroid. That was that 2/3, 1/3 rule. So these medians intersect and they divide those lines into 2/3 and then 1/3. So if you look, this little M here is going to be 2/3 of that whole line. So if this whole line is 6, I have to take 2/3 of it to figure out what ZQ is, that little piece. So that's just going to be 4. And that would mean this is 4 and this is 2. Because 1/3 of 6 would be 3, or sorry, 1/3 of 6 would be 2, and then so 2/3 would be 4. So 2/3, 1/3 is one of the things you guys want to go back and look at. Bless you.
I'm blessed.
All right, this next one they want us to find a whole bunch of different sides here. They want us to find PQ. PQ is here. They want us to find TS, which is this whole thing, and then PU, which is here. But they have a few things marked for us. There's some obvious things, I think. The fact that they give us these little marks, it's pretty obvious to me that this is also 7. So that means TS is going to be 14, right?
Here.
And then same thing with this PU here, is this whole thing is 32. And this is, those are both equal, so we break it in half for 16. But what's the rule with PQ? Do you guys remember? It's also called a midsegment. We did midsegment of a trapezoid, no, midsegment of a triangle. You guys remember? So since those are both the medians, this is always half of that. So PQ is just going to be 15. So midsegment of a triangle. We just did midsegment of a trapezoid. So that's worth looking up there too. So going back, again, those charts are going to be worthwhile to go back and look at again. All right, well, yeah.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yes. So much for no break.
Sorry.
All right, last one here. Chapter 6, there was no chart for chapter 6. This is a similarity chapter. I'm going to tell you guys, this is the chapter that if you don't use proportions, you're missing something. So there's a lot of proportions here. And that's like an example of a proportions, in case you forgot what those were. And then there's also similar shapes, which is this little squiggle. And we learned that we could have angle, angle, side angle, side, or also side, side, side similarity. Now in similar shapes, the angles are always equal, but the sides are proportional. Oops, sorry, angles are equal. So remember, this is like the mini-me problem, that you have a miniature version of the original. So for example 1 there, we're going to use proportions. So we're multiplying. Move this over. So n ends up being 1.5. Our next one is asking how we know the triangles are similar. And then they want us to write a similarity statement. So in this case, the fact that we have an angle already, it kind of gives a little bit of a clue that if we know one angle, we have like the 3 options for similarity right above there. It was side angle, side, 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 or angle, angle. Well, we obviously only know the one angle, so it's not that. And we don't know all 3 sides, so it's not going to be that. So we're going to check and see, is it side angle, side? The way we have to know that they're similar is they have to be proportional. So I have to check and show that these are actually proportional. So 9 would go with what side in this triangle? It would go with the 21 because it's the smaller of the 2 sides. And then that should equal 9 and 18 are in the same triangle. 18 should go with 42. If I check this, if I cross multiply those, they should be equal. Or if I simplify them, they should be equal fractions. So we would know by side angle side that these triangles would be similar. And again, this was a while ago, that's why we review. So then the last thing is they want us to write a similarity statement, and they start us off, FGH. So we want that to be similar to what triangle? I have to start with U because U goes with the F, and then they went to G first, so you went to V, and then W. It has to go in that order because they went around this way, so we have to go around like the big way first. Okay? And then finally, they tell us these are similar. They want us to find the missing side and angle of the similar triangles. I think angles are easier for similar figures. So what's the value of angle X? You guys tell? I think 60? Okay, so the way we can check this is, first of all, the 2 shortest sides should be around the smallest angle. A little bit of eyeballing it is okay, so X should be 60. And then they want us to find that unknown side, so let's just call that like M. So if I want to find M, which side does it go with in the other triangle? 35. And then I basically can pick any 2 other sides that go together. So tell me the next part that you want to put up here. I heard 54 louder, I guess we'll go with. 54 then would go with, it has to go with 63 because that's the longest side, and 54 is the longest side. I heard some of you pick 48, nicer little numbers, but either one will work. and then we divide by 63 to find out m is going to be 30. Okay. So that's a tiny snapshot. So if you're like, that's not enough, like that's not everything, like this is not all that's going to be on the exam. Trying to get you guys thinking about these different chapters that we have not seen for a while. Sorry for stepping on you. So I'll put this online.